This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas. Today I'm going to show a really easy join for 2 panels, and it has kind of a braided cable effect and a little tiny bit lacy. I deliberately put this in close enough so that it wouldn't be too holey. And here's what the other side looks like. There's definitely a thickness to this. It adds about 3/4 of an inch in width between the 2 panels. I started by knitting 2 panels on my bulky machine with sport weight yarn on tension 3. I knitted 2 more panels using some candy pink yarn, 20 stitches wide, 75 rows long, and I steamed them a little so they'll be flat, a little easier for you to see. I bring 3 needles into hold in the center of the machine, and I'm going to hang a clothespin on my yarn, leaving a little bit of length, not a lot, to sew with. There's a tiny bit of sewing at the end of this. I will E-wrap, thread my carriage, and knit over to the right. Now I need to put my left part button in. And I will knit to the left. I'll just use my fingers for a little bit of push down on this. And knit to the right. So that's 3 rows. It makes just a little tiny tag of knitting. Not really much to that. Now I want to pick up one of these 2 panels, and I'll start at the bottom of the panel, and I'm on the side of the panel. So this is the lower side, wrong side facing me of the panel, and as I look along the edge I can definitely see a loop, then a knot, then a loop, then a knot, then a loop. What I want to do is get the first 3 loops, and I'll get the very loop in the corner for my first one, and then the second loop, I'm skipping those knots, and then the 3rd loop. And I'm going to knit 6 rows. Because of the slip stitch, it's an idiot cord. It's really going to be 3 rounds. I'm just using my hand very gently. I'm not hanging a weight. Now that started it, and I will go ahead. It has a little tail sticking out. We'll use that later. I'll get the other one. Same idea. I want to hold this so I'm looking at the bottom corner of the inside of it, but in this case I do not pick up the first loop or the second loop. I start with the 3rd loop. I hang that on the rightmost needle, then the next loop on the next needle to the left, and then the next loop. And I knit 6 rows. So now I've picked up each piece once, and holding the pieces exactly the same way, I'm going to pick up the first piece again. Now, I can use the triple transfer tool to do this, but I'm going to get the first loop that happens to be a loop I used before. You can see it's pulled open. And then I'm going to get the next 2 loops after that, moving up toward the unused edge of the panel, hang it on the 3 needles, and knit 6 rows. Now I go to the other side, still the wrong side facing me. My first loop will be the loop I used before, so it'll be this loop, and I'm going to get 2 more loops, and I can use the triple transfer tool to grab them, hang them on my 3 needles, and knit 6 rows. This is quick and easy. It's a little bit like knitting a worm edge. And I'm just going to repeat. I want to get the loop I used before again, and the next 2 loops, hang it on the needles, and this is on the right panel, knit 6 rows, go to my left panel, I want to get the loop I used before plus the next 2, and hang it on the 3 needles, knit 6 rows, and you see this is starting to form. I'm starting to get some zigzags back and forth between the two panels, and I'm just going to repeat this, picking up 3 loops on the right hand panel, knitting 6 rows, then going to the left hand panel, picking up 3 loops, using that first loop an extra time, and knit 6 rows. Now I'm going to keep going off camera and join this entire section to this entire section, and when I get to the top I'll show you how to finish it off. As I get to the top and I'm running out of panel, I'm going to have to fit this on somehow. I'll reuse that one, I'll pick this one up, and I'll get my very last one in the very corner of the panel and knit my 6 rows. Then I'm going to skip to the other side and pick up the other one. That one's not quite as hard to get. I can just get the loops on that one. And to finish off my very last one, I just loosen the tension. I think I'll go from 3 to 7, and I'm going to take it out apart so I can knit across, and I'm just going to bind off here at the top. This is a quick, easy loop through a loop bind off, and it's going to be a little tight, and that's fine. So I'll just pull this loop and then pull this loop through here. I'll take this tail end at the end and pull it through the last loop. Now to finish this off, you need to go back to the beginning and just take a needle and sew down this little tab at the beginning to the opposite side so that it's joined up at the very bottom the way you want it. But look what a beautiful join that makes, and very flat. You could even use this idea to add another color or a decorative yarn for the join area. Here I am at the bottom edge of the join. There's that thread that I left at the beginning for attaching that tail edge over to the first side, and what I'm going to do is just go over and insert the needle in the bottom corner of the opposite side and pull that up tight, and then flip it over to the back, and I'm going to whip it down a couple of times, just sewing between this little piece of cording and the edge here. I just want to close that up. And that finishes off the bottom so that it has a little better look at the bottom.